Hi.
Hi, Gail.
Strange way to start a football press conference, but just wondered if we could have your reaction and reflections on what's probably been an extraordinary week in all of our lives.
Yeah, it was clearly a very, very sad day, and I think it's fitting how the country's obviously commemorating the Queen's death. So yeah, she obviously done a remarkable job, gave up her adult life virtually to her role, and like I say, always carried it out with distinction. So yeah, I had the good fortune of meeting the Queen twice, and it was very inspiring, and once on my own and once with my daughter. So yeah, it was. So I'll always cherish that memory.
Some of those stories of people meeting her have been quite spine-tingling. What did you go away thinking about her on those days then?
Yeah, well, it was very much that. Myself and my daughter Misha, we went to. She's diabetic, Misha, and we were invited to St James's Palace for an evening with the Queen and some guests, as she was the patron of the Diabetes UK. So probably like most people that meet, there's certain things you got to adhere to, but as you stood waiting for it to come through into the room, there's a real anticipation and a real feeling that you're meeting someone special, and that's exactly what it was. She came through the room and came along the line and met us all. So yeah, you just think of obviously the role that she's had to play over many, many years, and the enthusiasm and the dedication to that role. So yeah, something that both myself and Misha would always remember.
The game was called off. Did it give you a chance for a little bit of reflection over the last few weeks, just that kind of moment of, I don't know, perspective, looking at what you've done, just actually having a little bit of time to sum up what's happened so far?
Yeah, I think that obviously we were really looking forward to playing first and foremost. We'd trained all week, and you're ready for the game. But of course, it doesn't take place. So, like you say, you go away and you move on to your next game and look to prepare best as you possibly can for that. So yeah, obviously a sad situation meant the game wasn't on, and then we look forward, and the players, we've had a really good week this week.
Just finally for me, a little bit of a gear change, I know, but Todd Bowley sort of talked about this north-south game this week, and it's kind of captured a few people's imagination, for good or for bad. I wondered, first of all, Leicester in the north. I'm not sure too many around here would be too happy with that. What are your thoughts? Fancy being a part of that?
Thoughts are we might get a free weekend that weekend. If it's just the north and the south, the Midlands clubs will get a breather. So that would be nice. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Todd's come into the game, and we'll probably find when he looks back on the notion of that maybe wasn't one of his better ideas. Been a very successful man in his life and his career, but no, I think we're in a world now in football where we're trying to minimise the number of games. So I really don't see what that would bring if you're looking to add another one into the mix as well. So no, it's not something that probably most football people and people in general would say we would need.
Brendan, hi.
Hi.
So it's often said you learn more about yourself in adversity. What are you learning about yourself and your team and those around you at the moment?
Well, yeah, of course it's difficult in terms of results, but what we've tried to do is just keep the environment light and making sure that the players, we understand we been in a situation that we haven't been in here before, where the results haven't gone our way and the performances aren't to the level that we would want. But I think what's important is that we have to be brave. we have to continue to show that bravery. Sometimes when you're not quite in your game, you can maybe lose that aggression, but you can't afford to do that. You got to still press the game. You still got to be aggressive, and importantly, you have to defend very, very well collectively. So we've been able to look at all those aspects of our game, like I've said before, bringing a clarity and making sure the focus is there for the players, and for me it's straightforward. You know, you just come into work and enjoy working with the players, and like I said, just trying to ensure that we can do the basics well.
And this club has had a remarkable few years, almost unlike any other, perhaps at any other club, in the way that it's risen. So how is the club and those within it, how are they dealing with this sudden dip, this setback, if you like?
Well, I think everyone's very supportive, and everyone's still working very, very hard. I think there's no other way. I think at times, I guess here, everyone has, you want to see that grit and that passion within your workplace, and that's something that we have here in abundance. Because, like in anything, in any sport, it's not just about the talent. You know, it's the ones that succeed are those ones that have that grit and that determination and that perseverance. So that's what we're seeing. I'm seeing that from the players, and we will keep pushing, and we'll get the result that hopefully will push us on, and hopefully that'll come sooner rather than later.
And that's the key thing, isn't it? You're playing a Spurs side who've won 6 in a row in the Premier League, third in the table. Those things are obvious, you can see them. They're also stung by a defeat in midweek, which they've not actually experienced this season. So it's hard to see or recall a worse time to play them in a way. What sort of challenge is that for you?
Well, it's clearly a big challenge. They've, like you say, they've done very, very well last season into the Champions League, and got some very, very talented players. And Antonio, he works how he works, and he's got them very organised, and they have that quality there. So we know it's going to be a really difficult game at whatever stage you went there, whether you're in your best form or not. But like I said earlier, you have to have that bravery. You can't sit back and just let it happen. So for us, our intention is to go and look to play our game, go and play with that courage that we've shown many times, and that aggression in our game. And like I say, if we can cut out our mistakes, then it gives us a much better chance to get a result.
And I guess you'd urge patience, and when you look at the fixture list, I know you'll tell us every game is incredibly difficult at this level, but you look at the fixtures to come, the likes of Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Palace, Leeds. The next month could see a very different picture, couldn't it?
Yeah, well, we think through to when the games finish in November. There's a great opportunity to push on. There's no doubt we had a tough fixture list, but in saying that, we should have more points. But you have to deliver, and that's what we aim to do. So, but listen, I totally get it. We haven't made a good start at all, but I'm very confident in the players, and from what I'm seeing, that they're very determined to get the result.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Hi, Brendan.
Okay.
Hope you're okay. I wonder whether I could ask about injuries. Are there any fresh concerns for you ahead of the weekend?
Dennis Pratt has been out for a few days, so but he should come back into training tomorrow and should be okay. Apart from that, everyone is okay.
What was the issue with Dennis?
Just his foot. He's had an ongoing issue with his foot for a little while. He's trained through it. He's tried to play through it. So he's just been offloaded for a few days to try and allow that to recover. And I seen him out on the pitches today with our conditioning team and rehabilitation team, and he looked fine. So should be okay for tomorrow.
Excuse me. The 25-man squad for Leicester's been announced now, and the rest of the clubs as well. Ryan Bertrand is in the squad. Ricardo isn't, and obviously due to his injury. Are you anticipating that you'll be able to have Ryan Bertrand available to you before January?
Well, that's what the reason why Ryan's been made available and Ricardo hasn't. We're not expecting Ricardo back until sometime in the new year. So, and every other player that we reckon can get and be fit in this period, they're in the squad.
The stadium expansion was approved yesterday at a planning meeting. I wonder for you as the manager of the football club, how big you feel that kind of project is right now, and I suppose how big it is that it's actually been approved and it can go ahead.
Well, I think it's a great news for the football club, and I also think it's a great, showing where that sort of collaboration between the local authorities and the club, and how much they work together to keep improving and developing Leicester City. So I think it's great news. It's obviously part of the legacy of Kun Vichai. It's something that these plans were thought about and talked about when he was alive. So this is another example of continuing to commemorate his legacy and keep the club developing and moving forward.
Having a training ground like this and having that stadium expansion approved, and of course all the regeneration around the area with the hotel and the arena and things like that, how will that benefit Leicester City on the pitch? Will that kind of thing, do you think, appeal to maybe potential players that the club would like to bring in? Is that something that would go through a player's mind, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think firstly the training facility is a world-class training ground, so that's something that will always appeal to a player. The ability to come in and work and prepare and get yourself ready for your profession in this environment is what any player would love, firstly. And of course, secondly, at the stadium with the club growing and developing, its fan base, getting more supporters in, and obviously some revenue that will come from that as well, then clearly that benefits the football club.
Clearly a breakaway from match days over the last week or so in sad circumstances, but on the training pitch, I wonder how beneficial that may be to the defensive line at the moment, and the integration maybe of Wout Faes and maybe having a spare weekend to, as I say, reintegrate him and continue to integrate him into that back line. Is that one thing that you've been able to continue to work on, and is it, I suppose, beneficial in a way to be able to give him that little bit of extra time to form those partnerships?
Yeah, I didn't see it really as that on as the loss of someone, and then it being a benefit to exploit that. It's something that we do all the time collectively. We work on the pitch, and that's something that it's not just, if you're talking about defending and you're talking about football, then it's purely about the team. Clearly to win football matches, you have to defend well, and we clearly haven't defended well enough. And defending well is all about attitude, and that's something that we've talked about. Of course, we talk about it every single day, and it's something that we'll continue to talk about. It's not just the defensive line. The pressure starts from the top of the field, and those first moments of pressure, if they're not right, then the rest of the team is running. So the pressure and the defending starts at the very top, and if that's not right and one player's not quite doing it, then everyone else is moving and having to move into spaces that they don't need to. So it's all about reinforcing the collective, and that's what allows you to win games, and that's what we'll look to hopefully do at the weekend.
Final one from me, Brendan, but when you look at Antonio Conte's style as a manager, and you're kind of identifying the key attributes that are part of an Antonio Conte team, what are the most important ones that you have to stop to be successful on Saturday?
I think the key thing with them is their ability in transition. To stop the breakaways, they get really fast players, dynamic players that can go and exploit the space. You've got world-class players at the top end of the field. So you really have to, in your defending, you have to that counter pressing so important to stop the breakaway. If they do get away, then you need to have the numbers behind the ball that allows you to control that. But then when you have the ball, you know that you're going to have that time to play, and you've got to look after it and give yourself the opportunity to create chances. So I think in most of the games we've been able to do that, but it's collectively our defending that we have to get right.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks.